And we're live. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the channel, the Ron Harris channel. Appreciate you guys joining me. Before I get started, please, if you're not a member, if you're not subscribed, subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything, helps me out a little bit. If you like these videos, hit that thumbs up and give a like. And of course, share to your various platforms and all that good stuff. Turn on notifications, all that. So today we have a very important topic because it's winter. It's January. It's dead of winter, super cold. Most of the USA is experiencing record cold temperatures right now. So it's hard to even comprehend that it's going to be hot and sunny again. But trust me, guys, we had the hottest summer in recorded human history a few months ago. We could probably break that record this year if we really try with this global warming. Climate change would be a more accurate term. So get ripped by spring, because this is the time of year when a lot of us put on the extra weight. I've done it for myself for years and years. Even now, even though I stay relatively lean, I'm not as lean now as I would be in the warmer months, just because there's little incentive. You're all covered up. You're not wearing short shorts, little booty shorts and little string tank tops. You're not showing much skin. You're covered up. You're in hoodies, sweatpants, all that good stuff. So this is what we call the off season for most of us. We're eating more food. We're doing less cardio. We're indulging in things, especially, from Halloween until New Year's in the USA anyway. Most Americans, we go, quote unquote, off our diets. We're eating a lot more treats, especially around the holidays, around Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. Workplaces have all kinds of treats. People bring in cookies, cakes, brownies, donuts, and it's there, it's free, chomp, chomp, chomp. And we have this instinct as humans anyway, when it's cold and most of the hours, we don't have the daylight hours as long. It's dark most of the time. It gets dark much earlier. Our instinct as human beings is to eat more when the weather's like that, because instinctively our bodies remember those times of famine. We lived through ice ages, guys. The human race has lived through a couple ice ages. The human species, Homo sapiens sapiens. So this is the time of year a lot of us look in the mirror or we see pictures and say, "Man, I've put on some fluff. I've gotten a little fatter than I wanted to. It's time to get lean again." So what do? The first thing you do is clean up your diet. Clean up your diet. Obviously, you guys know the things that you're eating that you shouldn't be eating. All those treats, you get rid of them. You can have them a couple times a week, but you can't have them every day, because at the end of the day, fat loss is calories in versus calories out. How many calories are you burning versus how many calories are you taking in? If you're taking in a lot more calories than your body's burning, than your caloric expenditure, you're in that caloric surplus. A little bit of surplus is good if you're trying to gain muscle. You need those raw building blocks. You need those to synthesize new muscle tissue, muscle mass. But you start having too much in the area of surplus, and what does your body do? It just stores it as fat. It's extra fuel, in case we need it. Because, like, again, our ancestors, we evolved as a species to be able to withstand long stretches of droughts, famines. We're hunter-gatherers. A lot of times there was nothing to hunt. The animals weren't around. We couldn't find any food. And the people that had the high metabolisms, that the body just burnt up everything, they died quicker. And we're all descendants of the humans that had a little slower metabolic rates, that were able to withstand and live through those times of famine and low food availability. So first thing you want to do, guys, stop chowing down on all those junk food things that we love so much. The donuts, the sugary cereal, the bagels, the cookies, the pastries, cake, the fast food, the fried foods, all that stuff. It's delicious. We call it comfort food, but it's not good if you're trying to stay lean. And if you do that, we're going to take this gradually, guys. You don't want to jump right from eating everything you want, everything in sight, to totally strict contest diet. You want to sort of manage it. So for now, if you're starting your diet now, if you're looking in the mirror now or at pictures and deciding, "I'm too fat, this is unacceptable," start cutting back little by little, so that maybe you can have 3 junk meals a week. Then you take it down to 2, then you take it down to 1. Now, eventually, if you guys want to get super, super lean, you will go all the way down to no cheat meals. You can have refeeds maybe. A refeed is very different from a cheat meal. A cheat meal is eating whatever you want. It could be a pepperoni pizza. It could be 2 double cheeseburgers and a bucket load of fries. It could be, 3 ice cream cones. It could, whatever. Cheat meal is whatever you want. It's basically just an influx of all these calories in any form you want. Don't want to do that when you're really dieting and trying to get lean. You can have refeeds, which is a clean meal with larger portion sizes. typically larger in the department of carbohydrates, because that's where we typically take the calories away from first as the weeks go by. When you start a diet, so let's say you pick a day 16 weeks from today. That's the typical length of a contest diet. But let's assume that most of you guys don't compete, don't care about that, but you do want to look good for spring and summer when the weather gets better. So at 16 weeks out, you're gradually going to start reducing your carbohydrates. So if you're having something like 150, 200 grams of carbs at every meal, you can start reducing that. Take that down by 50 grams each week. Eventually, you'll be taking carbs out of meals. Eventually, I'd like to see anyone who's really interested in getting super lean take their carbs away from every meal except for the workout, the pre-workout and the post-workout meal. I want to give you an example of a contest diet. This is a very strict contest diet. This is a woman, a diet I gave to a woman who won. So when Carlos Thomas Jr. won the Nationals, he had to qualify at a show. I can't remember. It was Battle of Champions. I think it was in Virginia. It was about a month before the Nationals. And my client, Randy, she won the women's physique overall. She won her class. I think she won Open, Masters, class, overall, and all that. She walked away with all the trophies. So let me show you what she was doing for a diet, because this is an example of how a diet's going to look at the very end when you're super strict. So let me just make sure you can see it. Where's my StreamYard? Okay. You tab StreamYard.com. Okay, you can see it. So yeah, I'm going to go to it so I can see it better. So meal one, I didn't give times. I just give meal numbers because maybe you're eating at 6:30 for meal one day. Maybe it's 6:20 or 6:40. So meal one for her, 1 whole egg, 5 egg whites. She could add diced onions, peppers, and mushrooms. And then she could have half a cup dry oatmeal with 1 packet of Splenda, Truvia, or NutraSweet. Artificial sweeteners, if you can manage without it, or you can have a tiny little bit of natural honey or something, that's fine. But you don't want to have a ton of sugar. And when I say oatmeal, I mean like the rolled oats, the plain oatmeal, not the flavored oatmeal that you get that's already got a bunch of sugar added into it. I know they're delicious. You can get them flavored like cream of wheat and oatmeal with chocolate, or you can have anything, cinnamon. What other flavors I have? Peach, all kinds of crazy flavors. So meal one is very, very simple. Meal two, so these serving sizes, don't take these as a recommendation for you because you're not this woman. But it's a good example of what a contest diet looks like for someone who's trying to get peeled, really, really lean. So meal two, she was eating 4 ounces of chicken breast, and that chicken breast was either baked or grilled. It was not fried. It did not have any breading on it. This is a chicken breast that you buy, from a meat department at the supermarket or at Costco's or BJ's or Sam's Club, something like that. Just the meat, just the chicken breast, the poultry, and you cook it. You can add seasoning to it. If you can find marinades with very low sugar, you can use those. But for the most part, I do not want you wouldn't want to see anybody, especially doing like breading, which I know tastes delicious, but you don't need it. Raw green salad. So for that, she was just eating here, just chicken and veggies, lettuce, kale, spinach, broccoli. The only dressing that would be allowed is balsamic vinegar, vinaigrette, or lemon juice and olive oil. Problem with a lot of people eating salads is they will pile on. They'll have a salad, that's great. It's very, very low calorie, a big green salad. But people will throw on like Thousand Island dressing or ranch dressing or something that's just loaded with fat, sugar, a lot of calories you don't need. It totally defeats the purpose of having that salad. Meal three, she's having whitefish. Whitefish goes right through you. It digests very quickly, as opposed to something like salmon, which is fattier, has good fats in it, but it does take much longer to digest. So her third meal here, you can see, was whitefish. She could have either cod, halibut, tilapia, bass, wild Alaska pollock, or chicken breast. I gave her a lot of options. I gave her choices. Salad again, or she could have 1 cup of raw vegetables, broccoli, cauliflower, kale, spinach, green beans, asparagus. Didn't matter which one. Meat and veggies. You guys might remember Kevin Levrone famously dieted on exclusively fish and veggies for the final 6 weeks before every show he did. Meal four, again, either 4 ounces of whitefish or chicken breast, a small white or sweet potato. When I say small, I mean, small could mean anything. It's a relative term, but let's just say you could hold it in the palm of your hand and you'd still be able to see some fingers. Does that make sense? Post-workout shake. So that was her pre-workout meal. Post-workout shake, I would just have her drink whey protein, straight whey protein. You'll hear some people argue that you should have casein or a blend of casein and whey, because that's going to be a little slower digested. The whey protein spikes your insulin and this and that. I don't really see much of a problem with it. She got lean as hell on this, but if you want to, you could do that. You could do that. You could have, instead of whey protein, you could have sort of a blended protein, something that's got a mix of whey and casein. Meal number 5 was her post-workout meal, which we would be eating 1 hour after that shake. 4 ounces of whitefish again, half a cup of cooked rice or a small white or sweet potato. Her final meal of the day was something fatty, so it would sustain her through the night, and she wouldn't wake up at 3 in.the.morning with her stomach growling and keeping her awake. So it would be 4 ounces of lean red meat, steak or ground or patty, or 4 ounces of salmon, along with salad or a couple of raw vegetables. And that would be a slower digesting protein source. And again, no carbs, because we had to take our calories way, way down. This was a woman at the time, I think she was already 50. Women already have slower metabolisms than men. And of course, as they age, metabolisms are even slower. So we had to be very strict. As far as cardio, she was doing as much as hour and a half a day, 2 45-minute sessions toward the end, because that's the leaner you get, the harder it is to continue getting leaner. And then I also gave her the same meal plan for morning workouts. It's basically the same thing. It's just she got 1 meal before the workout. She would work out with a pre-workout formula. She had to be careful with that because she had heart issues, so she couldn't have anything with a lot of stimulants in it. It's all the same after that, the post-shake, the meals. The things I told her to avoid, and this was in every plan I gave her: butter, margarine, any deep fried foods, saturated fats, fruit juice, which is pure fructose, pure fruit sugar in a very, very concentrated form, all breads, white flour and white sugar. So almost gluten-free, pretty much gluten-free is how I have most people eat when they're trying to lose fat. So at that stage, I was giving her 1 or 2 cheat meals. We took those away. The plan that I gave you above, I think that was about 5 or 6 weeks out. Yeah, I allowed her to have a drink too. So let's go back and stop sharing that. So that's how you would eat. Not the quantities. The portion sizes would change based on who you are, and maybe you don't like some of those foods and you'd want to have different foods. But that's a good example of how you would be eating. That's how many meals you would be eating, because a lot of people ask me, how do I get lean? And I tell them, this is how to eat. And once they see how often they have to eat, they're like, ugh. They don't want to eat that strictly, and they don't want to eat all those meals every day. They'd rather just have snacks, like, let me have like 3 meals a day, a cheat meal every day, and let me have protein bars and all this crap. No. All right, let's get to you guys now. That's why we're live. That's why we're in a live chat. That guy 6, I just ended my cut in November. Dieted from April 2023 to November. I'm thinking about starting my next cut till May. Well, I mean, it's of course, you went from 250 to 208 diced. Yeah, so you can wait till May. That's, it's you can start your cut whenever. Most people want to be in really good shape by the time they start going to beaches, pools, pool parties, that kind of thing, where people are going to see their bodies, see them in a swimsuit, men and women. And we're all kind of vain that way. That's when we want to be lean. By the time, in the US, we basically consider, not Labor Day, that's the end. Memorial Day is close. That's not really the official start of summer. Summer's still a couple weeks away at that point. It's about 3 weeks away. But definitely by mid-June, most of us want to be beach ready. So you back time that based on how much fat you have to lose. You don't want to have to put yourself in a position where you have more than, say, 2 pounds of body fat per week to lose between when you start your cut or your diet and when you plan to be in shape. If you're losing more than that, losing weight more rapidly than that, chances are you're going to be losing muscle tissue along with the fat, and you do not want that. As bodybuilders, our goal is always to keep as much muscle mass as possible while at the same time losing as much fat as humanly possible to create this, this really sculpted look of muscles with no fat. The water, you shouldn't be retaining much water unless you're eating a lot of salty foods or you're on androgens that cause a lot of water retention. Certain ones like Test and Deca would do that. Obviously, pills like Anadrol, Dianabol would cause water retention, which is why people shy away from those drugs when they're trying to be cut. It's not because they keep you from getting lean. It's because they do come along. Water retention comes along with them. And that puffy look will obscure some of your muscle definition. You can be very lean, but if you're holding a lot of water, you're not going to see the definition, which a lot of you have experienced if you've gone off your diet right after a contest, eaten a bunch of salty food and drank a lot of water. You notice you're puffed up and you've lost a lot of muscle definition separation. And that's not because you've accumulated a bunch of body fat that quickly. It's just water, subcutaneous water retention. You're retaining water. It's what's the medical term for it? It's hard for me to think sometimes, but you know what I mean. All right. Somebody's tardy. Yeah, Scott, I had issue with my light. My wife came home. I want to make sure all the dishes were done so she didn't have to do them. So yeah, tardy. I was in the bathroom, but I wasn't taking selfies. I was pooping, if you must know. Yeah, gotta stay regular, guys. James Gary, what's up, James? Goes to my gym, Bayshore Athletic Club in Braintree, Mass. Got my Great Britain shirt on. I don't know if there's any Brits out there today. So, Noor Ega, do you have to count calories, just eat clean and do cardio? Well, if you can eat clean and you're still getting leaner, you're doing what you're doing is working. But a lot of people will get to the point where they're still eating too much. They're eating more calories than they need to, and they don't realize that, and they don't understand why they're not getting leaner. And like I said, it's calories in versus calories out. So let's say that between your BMI, your basal metabolic rate, your BMR, and your activity level, let's say that your body burns 2,500 calories a day. I'm just throwing a number out there. And if you're eating 3,000 calories, you can't possibly lose weight because you're taking in more calories than you're expending. So you have to be, if you get to 2,500, well, now you're not going to lose weight either. You're still going to, you're going to be in an even balance. You need to figure out a way to get just below that so you can start tipping the scales toward a deficit, a calorie deficit. The only way to know if you're in a calorie deficit is if you weigh and measure your food and you have a calorie counter, which there's so many apps out there. Do it on your phone in like 10 seconds. There's no excuse anymore. It's not like the old days where you had to sit there with a notepad and a calculator and look things up in a book. And oh gosh, things are a lot easier, more convenient these days. So yeah, you don't have to count calories. If what you're doing is working, then you're already in a calorie deficit. But a good way to know if you're losing muscle mass, and you're losing fat and muscle at the same time, you probably went too extreme in your caloric deficit. You probably need a little more calories every day. And the opposite, if you're not losing any weight and you're eating very clean, either you need to take your calories down or keep your calories the same and increase your activity level by adding cardio. I got a good question the other day. It was either here or I think it was here. Someone said, well, why don't you just eat less? Because they didn't want to do cardio. So yeah, calorie deficit, those are the two main ways of achieving it. Either you lower your calories or increase your activity level. Most guys in prep, guys and girls, they'll do both because they're trying to get shredded. They're trying to get down to a crazy low body fat, which is, it's not easy, guys. It's not easy at all. So if you just rely on your diet, what happens is you're going to have to take your calories down very low. Your body does sort of stall. It's going to sense that you're not taking in a lot of food, and it's going to slow your metabolism down. So that's why most people add the cardio in so they can keep eating a good amount of food. And the cardio stimulates your appetite, stimulates your metabolism. So everything's moving along perfectly. That's why you do cardio and you diet at the same time rather than just doing one or the other. It's much more effective if you do both, if you incorporate both of those strategies. Cody Jolly, up around, any subs you recommend for a natty in his early 30s besides the basic whey, creatine, vitamins, and fish oil? Yeah, I mean, L-glutamine is a good staple that I would look into. What else did I have Randy on? So for supplements, like I recommended for her to use, whey protein, casein or whey casein blend, a multivitamin, vitamin mineral, extra vitamin C, digestive enzymes never hurt. I take the collagen peptides. I get those from Costco. It's a white powder. I just mix it in my coffee, a little cup of it in my coffee every morning. That has digestive enzymes in it as well. Apple cider vinegar, good for digestion as well. Creatine monohydrate, pre and post workout, a pre-workout formula. Yeah, these are all pretty basic things. Yeah. So let's go back to the studio. Yeah, I wouldn't really. You could try the test boosters and see how they work. They do work somewhat. They do have a little bit of an effect. You know, you'd only want to look into TRT if your testosterone is genuinely low. in your early 30s, you should be good. I mean, I remember I was already on gear in my early 30s. I've been on since my late 20s. But had I stayed natural, I'm very, very, very certain my test levels, my natural test levels still would have been really good in my early 30s because they were what I know that because I would do, I didn't do PCTs between my cycles back then. I was too lazy, if I'm being honest, just lazy. So I would go off gear. I would be on for 12 weeks or whatever, and then I would go off for 12 weeks. And it would take about halfway through there, about 6 weeks through that in between period. And then I would be feeling like my old self again. Sex drive would be back to normal, strength, everything. So I was still able to recover my own test production for quite a while. I'd say until like I started hitting late 30s. That's when I think I passed the point of no return. But yeah, all those basic supplements are really good. Any antioxidants, I get a lot of my antioxidants just from blueberries. I have blueberries with my oatmeal every morning. Blueberries have been shown to be the most powerful fruit as far as antioxidant properties of anything you can eat. So I have a couple of those in my oatmeal every single morning. But yeah, the basic supplements, you don't want to go too overboard. Creatine, protein powder, a pre-workout, L-glutamine, you don't need to get too fancy. The main thing, of course, is eating really good, healthy, wholesome food. If you're getting like 4 or 5 good, wholesome, healthy meals every day, I would try for like 5 and a shake. You're golden. It's all about real good, wholesome food. Nothing's going to be any tips on meal prep. Thanks. Yeah, meal prep. So a huge part of getting lean, of course, is having the right foods available, because if you're constantly looking for food to eat when it's time to eat, you're going to make bad choices just out of convenience. So if you don't have all the right foods prepared and ready for you to eat when you need to eat, that can lead you down a bad path where you're just continually eating, toaster oven food, stuff like that, a lot of processed foods, a lot of things with a lot of chemicals in them. You don't want all that. You want clean, wholesome, fresh food, stuff that you cooked yourself. So meal prep, figure out what foods you're going to be eating. Protein sources are the ones that you're going to have to cook the most of. So you can make a big batch of chicken, like what I would do. Crock pots, if you have a crock pot, you guys already know how great they are. A slow cooker, a crock pot, whatever you want to call it. So what I would do and still do is buy a big bag or a big portion of chicken breast or chicken thigh. Chicken thighs have more fat, but it's not that much. If I was in a really aggressive cutting mode, I would go for chicken breast, but otherwise I stay with chicken thighs. They're cheaper, they're tastier. Anyway, I would marinate them in a low sugar marinade. Actually, I just throw it all in a crock pot, throw the marinade in, mix it up with the stuff, pop it on, hit the button, and you're good to go. And then at the end of it's going to take about 8 to 10 hours. You could set it for different times, slower, faster cooking. But let's say 8 to 10 hours of cooking. Now you're going to have 3, 4, 5 pounds of chicken breasts. Divide those up. I put them in separate glass containers. I had like 2 in each container, 2 meals worth, 2 portions in each container. And I would put those in the freezer and just take them out when I need to eat them. So they thaw. I'd have one in the refrigerator that was already thawed out. And as soon as I was down to one meal left, I'd take another one to thaw for the next day and so on. I would grill. I still grill turkey burgers. I get those from Costco, turkey breast burgers. You can make, depending on how big of a grill you have, you can make 6, 9, or even 12 of those at a time. Ground turkey. I eat that every day as well. I get the ground turkey from Costco. It comes in 2 big bags. Cut that out. I have a frying pan about this big. I put some taco seasoning on that, stir it up, fry that, drain a little bit of fat out. Have that with some salsa. You can have that with either rice or tortilla chips. Fish, you can bake fish. I don't want you frying anything. You can fry things if you're frying it in not Crisco, not oil, but you can either fry it in like the non-stick spray, like avocado oil, or Pam is another popular one. But you want to make mass quantities of those things. Rice, easiest thing is to get a rice cooker. I've had the same one for over 30 years. I can't believe it's lasted this long. Pop in the rice, you pour in the rice, pour in enough water, as much water as you need. Throw a little bit of salt in there, a little bit of oil so it's not completely dry. Mix it up, pop it in. It's done in 30 minutes. It was 3 cups dry, so it makes, I don't know, it makes about 6 to 8 cups of rice cooked. Potatoes, baked potatoes, sweet potatoes, bake multiple. You can bake as many of those in the oven on a sheet as you can fit. So the key with meal prep is, you have to find a time when you have availability to make all the food, and then you try to make it. So a lot of guys just do it once a week and they freeze everything, a week's worth of food, and they take it out as needed. And then say it's Sunday. A lot of people meal prep on Sunday. A lot of people have Sundays off. That's their day to do things at home. So they'll meal prep on Sundays. They'll make all their chicken, all their fish. The carbs, you do have the baking you can do ahead of time. But the rice, I just make the rice every couple days when I need it. My son and I both eat rice every day with a chicken meal. So I'm constantly making rice every 2 to 3 days for us. And that's it. Vegetables, obviously, you don't need to meal prep the vegetables. But yeah, the key to meal prep is just being prepared. Buy the right foods you need, cook them in advance, and you have to have storage containers, either Tupperware, registered trademark, or I like the glass containers. They freeze better. The food stays fresh longer, I feel. And yeah, you can have like a whole week's worth of meals. Ideally, if you have a lot of money, money's no object. These meal prep companies like, what's the one they all use? I don't have meal prep sponsors, but these big meal prep companies, it's amazing if you have the money and you don't mind spending it. You don't want to cook. Icon is one. What's the one? Trifecta is another big one. There's a few really major ones that bodybuilders use. So you have all your meals just ready. You take them out when you eat them. It's all portioned out, cooked. You just heat them up. That's a beautiful thing. Saves you a lot of time and effort, obviously. So that's my meal tip. Meal prep tips. That guy died on 235 grams carbs, a few low days around 100 grams, no problem getting peeled. No need to carb deplete. Yeah, that's pretty much the way I did it. I never went zero carbs. I didn't carb cycle intentionally, but I would go much lower on carbs on the days I didn't weight train. So I would go probably about 100 grams total on the days I didn't weight train. On the days I was training with weights, 200 to 300 grams total for the most part. I don't think I ever went under 200 grams of carbs on weight training days. And I would have a little more carbs on the days I trained large body parts like back and legs. It just makes sense. You don't need as much glycogen to fuel the workout, or you don't need as much glycogen to replenish after a workout if it's a smaller body part. Something like shoulders or arms, it's not as metabolically demanding. You're not expending as much energy and calories and burning through as much glycogen, muscle glycogen, as you would a leg workout or a back workout. I think that stands to reason. Around 350 grams of carbs. Yeah, refeed. Yeah, like I said, refeeds. Refeeds aren't cheat meals. They're just a way to sort of stimulate your metabolism again by giving it a little bit more food. It's still good, clean food. I don't really feel the need. I don't think most people should be eating any cheat meals when they diet. Unless you're somebody who has a crazy fast metabolism and you're shredded and the contest is still like 5 weeks away and you're like, I'm gonna waste away to nothing. Somebody like that might genuinely need a cheat meal, like a Five Guys meal or something, but most people do not. Most people never get ahead where they're like, I'm way too lean and it's way too soon. Not many people find themselves in that situation. Most people are either right on track, which is ideal, or they're behind, which is worse, because now you're like, my show's in 6 weeks. I don't look like I'm 6 weeks out. A lot of times that's why it's good to have, most of you aren't competing, so you don't need to worry about it. But if you do compete, the value of a coach, a huge value, is just that second set of eyes that lets you know, am I on track? Am I ahead? Am I behind? Because a lot of people have no concept, or even if they do, it's hard to be objective when they look at themselves. It's really hard. So they might look at themselves in the mirror and they see a vein here and there, like, okay, I'm doing okay. But then somebody who really knows what conditioning is what true conditioning is, they'll say, when's your show? How many weeks? Oh no, dude, you don't look 4 weeks out. You look about 8 weeks out. I could see people posting pictures sometimes, and I could see they're behind. They'll say, okay, 6 weeks to go. And I'm like, wow, this is where I'd want to be in the off season before I started my diet. That's the condition I'd want to be in. I would not want to be carrying that much body fat with only 6 weeks to go, because at that point, you're going to have to really crash diet. You're going to have to bring your calories down way too low, or you're going to have to boost your cardio. You're going to have to do so much cardio. And again, even with gear in the equation, you're still going to burn through muscle tissue doing that. The body does not want to lose fat. Fat is what keeps us alive through periods of famine. which, most of us don't have periods of famine, but that's how our bodies are still set up from all those hundreds of thousands of years that we evolved as hunter-gatherers. Those are still our bodies, guys. Human civilization is a very, very new thing relative to the entire span of time that we've been a species. We've only had what was Mesopotamia, like 5,000 years ago, 6,000 years, and the human species has been around for over 500,000 years. Yeah, as Homo sapiens sapiens, and there were hominids that were very close to us even before that. So hope that makes sense. All the way from Tampa, Florida, Big Mike Cox. Yeah, Mike and I, we're the grouchy old guys. We talk about these young whippersnappers. They don't want a diet. They want their nom-noms, N-O-M. I didn't even know that was a term. They want to eat what they want to eat, and they don't want to do cardio. So they'll say, well, how many cheat meals can I have? Or can I eat this? Can I eat that? And they'll get upset. I wouldn't coach somebody like that, because already I could see they're going to be a pain in the ass. If I tell them this is what you're going to eat, they'll be like, nah, I don't like fish. I want to eat. Why can't I have a donut instead of this or that? Because it's the same macros, isn't it? Well, that's the whole thing about if it fits your macros. And I don't like that approach to dieting, because even if you're getting the same macros from, let's say, a big bowl of Fruity Pebbles as you were from a plain baked potato or a plain sweet potato, in the end, yeah, I understand it's all glycogen, it's all glucose, it's the same carbohydrate count, but one of them is a nice, clean, healthy, nutritious food, and the other one is a bunch of processed crap and sugar. So why would you want to put that in your body? If you have, let's say you have a Lamborghini, maybe some of you do have a Lamborghini. I don't even know if Lambos take like regular super unleaded, or if you have to get some crazy extra special fuel. But let's say you have a nice fancy sports car. You're supposed to be putting the highest octane gas, premium gasoline, super unleaded, premium unleaded, whatever. You don't want to put the cheapest gas in there, because that's got more impurities in it, and it's going to clog up all the fuel lines and all this crap. Your car is not going to perform the way it's meant to. And I feel the same way about food. As bodybuilders, you should be striving to put in quality food. Like they say, what was that old thing they used to say about computers in the old days? It was garbage in, garbage out. If you're eating a bunch of garbage, you're not going to look as good as you possibly could. You're definitely not going to feel and perform as well as you could eating a bunch of crap. As bodybuilders, you really should be striving to eat healthy. I mean, if you're on gear, and this is where I have an issue with these young kids now that are following what Sam Sulek was showing them in his videos. He wasn't telling them to eat a bunch of crap, but they saw him eating, donuts, Five Guys every day, big bowls of cereal, big jugs of chocolate milk. And they said, great, I can eat whatever I want, just like Sam. Well, if you're on gear, which a lot of these kids, they want to get big quick, they're on all kinds of gear, you're already harming your body. You're already doing something that's risky, and it's compromising your health. If I was in that position, I would want to minimize the damage I was doing and the risks I was taking by at least eating as well as I could. Eating healthy food, getting a lot of fruits and vegetables, antioxidants, things to combat whatever damage I was doing with these chemicals, these hormones that are, you're taking it, you're abusing them. You're taking them in much higher quantities than they were designed to be taken. What else did Mike say? Cox, good info. Eat to get big, eat to get lean. Yeah. Mike Cox, what's the most cardio you have done for a prep? I would say, did I still have this? I think I left it up. I took it away. I'm gonna have to get it there. Hang on, guys. I'll show you. I just want to show some of my pictures. Cancel. So I'm gonna go to the Facebook. That's how you know I'm old. I just want to show you the conditions, so hopefully that'll motivate you to want to do it. Okay, albums. Go to old school. Yeah, I'm going to go to the bodybuilding one. I'll go to a different album, guys. Bear with me. Photos, albums. Let's go to bodybuilding. Okay. Go to StreamYard. I'm going to share it. The quick answer is 2 45-minute sessions a day, which is a lot. Share screen. Facebook. Share. Okay, so this was 2011 Team Universe. Got pretty lean for that. Yeah, for all these, I was doing either 1 40 to 45-minute session a day or two. And if I was doing two, it's because I felt I was behind or I really wanted to push the condition past that point. That was 2011 Team U. Little softer, not as lean as I should have been. I was clean for that show. It was smaller. 2011. Yeah, I should lean for that. I think that was, that's 2011 as well. 2011. Glutes were not really in for that one. Hams are nice and dug out, but my glutes were not as lean as they could have been for that. Ripped and ready. That's what I used for the thumbnail. Jay Cutler. That's going back even older. Training with Ronnie. This is not conditioning. Not relevant to the discussion. Not relevant. That was 2009. That was Natty, believe it or not. Rolly, Jay. I'm trying to find ones that really show the condition, so I have a little more credibility. Yeah, that was 09 as well, I believe. It's going back even further. I'm just trying to find one that really showcases the condition. 05 wasn't really that lean for that show. From the back, my glutes and hams were soft. 04 looked good from the front. From the back, again, I could have been a little. Last place to go for almost every guy is going to be the glutes and the hams. When you get the fat completely off your glutes and hams, you've won. So that was the same show. That was 2011 Team U. That was 2009. 05. So grainy, but at least you can see my glutes were in. These look awful all big like that. Yeah. Do they look that big on this one? Oh, actually on that they don't look as bad. Because it's smaller on the StreamYard screen. Yeah, this is my last time I ever competed, 2013 Masters Nationals there with Matt Puglia. Yeah. Yeah, you see that diet face. I mean, I dieted very strictly. That was my thing, is I knew I was never going to be the biggest guy. I was never going to have beautiful, pretty shape. I just didn't have it. Those are genetic things. So conditioning was the one thing I knew I could control 100%. I could do the cardio. I could stay strict to my diet, and I had full control of that. It was me against me. And I wasn't up against other people's genetics. I could get lean just by suffering, working harder than the other people. Yeah. Boy, oh boy. All right. This enough of these. Geez, I got a lot of pictures on that one. First Team U. All right. I think I've proved my point here. Yeah. So, yeah. Most cardio I ever did. It's people say, how much cardio should I do? It's going to be different for everybody. I always say start out in a prep 4 times a week for 30 minutes. I would do. And you'll hear people say, well, you can't use this machine. Stationary bike's too easy. The stepper is the stepper/step mill, whatever you want to call it, where it's just that stairway to nowhere. You're just stepping and stepping, especially if you're not leaning, especially if you're not cheating and leaning on the rails. That's the hardest cardio you can do. There's no way to cheat, unless you lean on the rails. Kai used to do it with a broomstick across his back with no hands on the rails. Ouch. That scares me to even think about it. But you can do incline treadmill. You can do stationary bike. Anything that gets your heart rate up and you're breathing a little heavier, that's cardio. You're burning calories. So if you find a certain machine that you really like and it's fun for you and it's comfortable and doesn't hurt your ankles or your knees or anything, stick with that. There's no piece of cardio equipment that's intrinsically better than every other machine. It's a case-by-case basis. You try a few, you're going to find a couple that you enjoy using. And if your heart rate's up and you're sweating, it's working. You're burning calories, and calories in versus calories out is how you get rid of body fat. Oh, Mandy says hi. Mandy Toll. I like when we're all together at the shows. Mike just calls his wife Toll, her last name, which I think is hilarious. I do that with my wife sometimes. I go, "Hey, Rodriguez," which her name is Harris, but her maiden name was Rodriguez. On Facebook, I think it's Rodriguez Harris. She goes by both. Philip Urabi, do I think fasting can work? Work in what sense? So when you say it can work, I need to know, like, can it do what? In what way? I don't like fasting. There's people that swear by it. They feel it detoxifies their system, particularly the digestive system gets a break by not eating all that time. I've only tried what they call intermittent fasting a couple times. So what that involves is you're fasting for anywhere from 12 to 14 hours out of the day, and then you have this window of 8 or 10 hours where you get all your meals and all your calories in. I didn't like it. I don't like being hungry. I don't like the feeling of low blood sugar. I get tired. I get irritable. I get cranky. That's the same as irritable. I just don't like it. So if it works for you, that's great. For me, it's a big no. But clarify your question if you have something that I wasn't really addressing there, and I'll get to it. Max Muscle, another great content creator. Check him out. Big Ron, thank you. Mike says, I'm down to 4 meals a day now. Are you still getting 6? My appetite wasn't what it used to be. I'm getting 5 meals in a shake. So the way I eat now, every day it's like Groundhog Day with me. I'm not competing or anything. Never going to compete again. I'm pretty certain about that. But every first meal is eggs. It's 2 whole eggs and a half a cup of egg whites. Oatmeal, I have a little less than a cup dry with blueberries in there mixed in. I have coffee, and in the coffee, I have a little bit of protein powder. I use the churro flavored Nitrotech whey protein I got right now. It's delicious. Someone got mad because I told them about it, and it was a limited edition. They went to buy it, and it was already sold out. Churros. They also have dulce de leche. Delicious. Good stuff. Because I'm not gonna go to Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts and pay $5-7 for a cup of coffee. I can make it at home for free. Haha. So that's meal 1. Typically, I go to the gym. My second meal, if you want to call it that, is about a cup and a half of sugary cereal. Doesn't matter what kind. It could be Fruity Pebbles, Cocoa Puffs. Right now, I'm using Monster Mash, which is a blend of Monster cereals from General Mills with a new flavor added. And I have that with 50 grams of whey protein. For that, I just do the straight Nitrotech vanilla flavored. I think it's called vanilla ice cream. So whey protein and cereal. That's meal 2, if you want to call that a meal. I do. Meal 3 is a post-workout meal. It's chicken. Right now I'm doing about half and half chicken breast and chicken thigh. I'm stripping down rotisserie chickens because I've been too lazy to cook lately. Costco, you get these giant rotisserie chickens for $5 cooked. You guys know about those rotisserie chickens from Costco, right? $5 for a huge chicken. They don't make any money. They lose money on that, but it gets people in the store and they buy a bunch more stuff. So that with about a cup and a half, maybe 2 cups cooked rice. Again, I'll have more carbs in a workout, a post-workout, if it's been back day or leg day, a pull day or a leg day. The other days, not so much. And if it's a non-training day, probably about half the carbs on that because I know I don't need them. As you get older, you realize your metabolism slows down and you don't need as much food. I do still have an appetite though. So that's the 3rd meal. 4th meal, I have a turkey breast burger. I get those from BJ's right now on a potato bread bun. It's only like 20 grams of carbs. 1 slice of Havarti cheese. I would cut that out if I was trying to get lean. I would just have the patty. I wouldn't have the bun and the cheese. With that right now, I'm doing a piece of cornbread. Yeah, I'm being very honest. So that's meal 4. Meal 5 is ground turkey. So that's ground turkey that I cook up and add the taco seasoning to, so it's a little tastier. I throw some salsa in there, mix it up, and I have that with tortilla chips. Tortilla chips from Costco, gluten-free. Crush them up, mix it all up. And I'm also having an apple with that, about that big, not a huge apple. Last meal today is going to either be a sirloin burger, which I just cut up and have a little bit of ketchup and vegetables, along with some nuts. I'm doing almonds right now. Sometimes I'll do cashews, but right now I've been doing almonds for a while. Very good for you, almonds. Really good, and a lot of healthy fats in them, heart protective. If it's not the sirloin burger, it's salmon. It's a salmon salmon fillet. I get the big bag of farmed salmon. I know farmed salmon is not as good for you, but it's like half the price of fresh salmon. And I'm not trying to break the bank these days. So, and I'll have that again with the nuts and the vegetable. I usually do green beans, raw green beans. My wife gets a big 2-pound bag every week from Trader Joe's for me. I have about, I don't know, you don't measure those in cups, but it's a substantial amount because I want the fiber, I want the nutrients, and I also want the fiber to keep everything moving along. So yeah, I am doing, you could call that 6 meals a day or 5 meals a day in a shake. And with the shake, I'm having a little bit of a solid carb source, even though it's sugar. That's the only time I'll eat crap food like that's pure sugar is right after a workout. That's when it gets utilized and absorbed best. I wouldn't do it at any other time of day because I don't want my insulin spiking up that high. I do want it spiking up high right after a workout because I want that whey protein and I want that the glycogen, the glucose from there to go right into my system. So I want fast acting things. And during the training, for the last couple months, I've been doing EAAs from Muscle Tech, essential amino acids. They come in fruit punch and grape. I've been doing the grape because my wife is partial to fruit punch, so I'm letting her have all the fruit punch. I have that with some a scoop of glutamine in there. I drink that throughout the workout. Pre-workout, I'm having the pre-workout. I have Euphoric from Muscle Tech, and I throw some creatine in there as well, the 6-star creatine that they make. So yeah, I still have the appetite. Yeah, I mean, I guess it would be easier if I didn't because I wouldn't be tempted to eat more. But I have cut down on my overall calories as I've gotten older because I'm not trying to bulk anymore. I'm not really. It sounds crazy to a lot of younger guys, but I'm not trying to get bigger anymore. I'm trying to maintain, and I still have to train very hard and eat a lot of good food just to maintain what I have. And the reason I say I'm not trying to gain is because realistically it would be futile to even think at this stage of my life at 40 years of training, 54 years old, and I'm still gaining muscle. If you've been training for 40 years, you've been eating right and training hard, and you've been doing gear for over 20 years, as I have, you're as big as you're going to get. If you can still hold on to a good amount of that without abusing mass amounts of gear, you're doing pretty damn well. Right now, I'm down to, it's still not pure TRT. I'm doing 150 milligrams every 4th day, which if you do the math, which I'm not good at, but I think it comes out to about 275 a week, I think. And that's still a little bit higher than what you guys would want to see me on. A lot of you guys would like to see me on 0 TRT and have no sex drive and lose all my muscle, but sorry, I'm not going to do that to myself. I'm not going to do that. But that's what I'm doing for right now. Our stuff. You said you measure waist to gauge your fat loss. What's the ideal drop in inches from off season? I don't do that anymore because it's depressing. Frankly, I do go by. That's the end of that ball. I do go by the mirror and my body weight, sort of use both as gauges because I know once I get over a certain weight, once I get over 220, I know I'm starting to get a little too fat because I know how much muscle I have. So I know that if I weigh more than 220, I'm putting on fat because I'm not adding muscle. I know how much muscle my body's carrying. Like when I'm in summer, when I'm really trying to be nice and lean and look good, anytime I want to take my shirt off, I'm comfortable. About 210 is where 212, 210 I get down to. Right now I hang around 218 to 220, 217 to 220. And that's the limit. Once I get over that, I start looking fatter. I don't like that. And my sleep apnea kicks in. I snore really bad. I start waking up, because I can't breathe basically. So that, but my waist, yeah, I don't measure because it's depressing because I think it's like, fully honest, I think it's probably like 38 inches if I really just let my gut out. Even when I diet down, when I'm really lean, because I think my internal organs have grown over the years from force feeding, mostly force feeding and gear, not from GH and insulin. I think just force feeding and gear will blow up your waistline. It never gets under like a 34. That's when I have a deep 6-pack and veins crisscrossing my abs. It's like a 34, maybe 33 and a half. But at 220, I think it's more like 38 inches. I go by the mirror. I could see my face, how lean or how fat. My face is a really good indication of how lean I am, even before I see my body, because I have a full face. I don't have those high cheekbones and hollow cheeks. So like in those diet pictures I was showing, I have hollowed out eyes, hollowed cheeks. My face looks very, very different when I'm lean. Kevin Clements, good evening. Ron Hillbell as well. Around me has been suffering with the crud, but no COVID, thank goodness. Ron Harris. Yeah, I just saw something. I don't want to talk too much about it on YouTube. I don't want to get banned. That the Chinese are experimenting in a lab with some super strain of COVID that's like killing rats within like a day or something, like a super powerful, deadly. But why would they do that? Why would you develop that? Because that thing gets out of the lab and we're screwed. It's going to be like the last pandemic, but worse. Ugh. So if any of you guys are friends with these scientists over in China doing that, please urge them to stop doing that. It's not cool. Stop developing super strains of COVID that are even deadlier. Rixta, you're very welcome, Rixta. Philip again. What cutting steroids are you use long-term with TRT? So there are no cutting steroids. I should say that Anavar has been shown to demonstrate fat-burning properties in abdominal area. So it will burn. Out of all the steroids, it's the only one that actually has demonstrated fat-burning properties, but I wouldn't rely on it over diet and exercise. So when we talk about cutting steroids, we're really talking about the ones that have very low water retention. So the ones that are used for prep typically are going to be things like Primobolan, Anavar, Masteron, Tren, Winstrol. Yeah, these are the ones that you're going to see used most often because they don't have that water retentive properties of things like Test, Deca, Equipoise, Anadrol, D-Ball. But you can't use, we've had this question, Dr. T and I, on many shows that we did for MD, and that show will be coming back. We're just trying to line up a sponsor for it so we can do it right. But that's coming back soon, ask Dr. T. But we got that question almost every week. Like, what steroids can I use long term? The only steroid you can use long term safely is testosterone, and the only way to use it safely is in those TRT parameters, where the dose is just enough to put you in a high normal range. If you're using even test at levels, at amounts, at dosages that put you way over that, you're going to start compromising things like your arteries, your heart. You might get high blood pressure. Now your kidneys untreated high blood pressure is awful for your kidneys. Didn't know that. I didn't know that till a few years ago. So there's nothing you can use long term. If you're going to use something long term, it would have to be lower dose. Anything long term to be safer, the lower the dose, the safer you're going to be. Things like Primobolan, a lot of people use Primobolan long term in reasonable amounts. I'm talking like 300-400 milligrams a week. A lot of people use a low dose of Deca, like 200 to 300 milligrams a week, along with their TRT. I was doing that. I'm going to start doing that again in a couple months. I've been off Deca now. I've been off everything except test now for a couple months. Before that, it was a low dose of Deca. So I wouldn't recommend that you do something like an Anavar, a pill, because long-term, any oral that you take is going to start messing up your liver. It's going to give you higher bad cholesterol and lower good cholesterol. HDL is your good cholesterol. LDL is your bad cholesterol. So anytime you're on an oral, a pill, long-term, it's going to really mess up your liver. So that's why those aren't recommended for long-term use. Even when I've counseled people and I've theoretically said, this is what you could do for a cycle, I would never want them to do an oral beyond the early stages, especially if they're doing that for an off-season cycle. People do something like Anadrol or D-Ball in the first month or so, just to get something going before all those long esters like the Test, Cypionate, and the Deca kick in. Of course, if you're dieting for a show, yeah, then people are going to use more orals, more pills like Anavar. I've seen Masteron, Arimidex, which isn't a steroid, it's an AI. But yeah, nothing is really long-term that you can use safely other than test at a TRT dosage. Everything else is starting to... Geez, Ron, you're making us all hungry. Am I talking about too much junk food, Max? Is your name Max or Marks? I don't know. It's a cool name, whatever it is. Goku Luffy, do you think Rubriel will make it to the Arnold? I don't know. In fact, I was a guest on the Dennis James podcast, which I think that episode will come out in a couple of days. It was myself, Dennis James, the host, Chris Cormier, Milo Sarshev, and Cormier is in touch with Rubiel apparently, and Dennis asked him what's going on with Rubiel and Moscara. We're talking about next Zilla, guys. His real name is Rubiel, and he was still trying to get the visa approved and all that. And right now it was up in the air as to, he didn't have any definitive answer as to whether Rubiel's going to make it. But yeah, we still have, what is it, about 6 weeks away? We still have time. So I think he'll make it. Andrew Jack has already pulled out. But yeah. Hadi, I think Hadi's going to have no issue getting the visa because I don't think he would have even put his, yeah, it's already been confirmed. He's all set, Hadi. So the only one, assuming no one else drops out, is next Zilla. And he's trying to get his visa situation sorted. He's a Colombian citizen. I don't know why it would be that hard. Colombia is not, it's not like they're a country that aids terrorists or anything. We got all kinds of Colombians in the U.S. I have some of them as in-laws, so I would know. So yeah, I don't know. Good. Jasmine from 90 Day Fiance got in. Oh no, she's not Colombian. She's from Panama. My bad. Kim Glenn said, get ground turkey, good substitute and spaghetti sauce. Yeah, so a lot of you, if you like to have like spaghetti meatballs, you don't want to have all that red meat and all that pasta together. It's just a lot of calories. A really good substitute for the meatballs is turkey meatballs, which you would make pretty much in the same way. You would just be using ground turkey instead of ground beef. Yeah, and as long you get all that sauce and everything, that tastes just as good. What's up, Mark? James Gary, what about Walden Farms dressing sauces? I would have to look at the labels. Look at the labels. Look at the sugar content. Look at the fat content. Read your labels carefully. A lot of times if something is advertised as being low sugar or sugar-free, you'll look and it's got a ton of fat in it. And if something is labeled as being fat-free, it's going to have a ton of sugar in it. They're going to make up the difference somewhere. So I'd really look at the labels and try to find low-calorie dressing that's low in sugar. Sugar in particular, something you don't want a lot of in your diet. When you're trying to get lean, sugar is not your friend. Post-workout, right after workout, it's okay. Any other time of day, you do not want sugar. It's just not your friend. It spikes your insulin way too high. Smash that like button. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you. Like button and subscribe. If you're not subscribed already, it doesn't cost you anything. It's free. And another thing, if you guys really like the videos, and I hope you do, share them. There's a little share button there. You can share it on your Facebook if you're old or some other platform if you're younger. I don't know. Let's see. Mike Cox says, I tried Mega Fit meals a few times. Amazing. Takes 5 to 7 minutes and it's delicious. Yeah, I can't say I've ever had bad meal prep food. I'm not that picky of an eater though. So maybe I'm like too easy to please. I'm not that critical, but like, my wife was doing CrossFit for years and there's a company called Paleo Power Meals. I think they might have changed their name, but they were called Paleo Power Meals. She used to order those. And a lot of times I'd throw in a few for me in the order. Delicious stuff. It was already cooked. You just had to let it thaw or microwave it or whatever you want to do. And the nutrient facts right there on the label, you knew exactly how much protein, carbs, fats you were getting per meal. And of course, you didn't have to cook it. You don't have to go out and shop for the food. You don't have to cook the food. You just take it out of the container and you're good to go. Yeah. Can't complain about that. OBX Pescado, which means fish. What's up? Big Mike Cox says, I went 0 carbs, 2.5 hours a day, too much T3. I went from 250 to 190. I went, but I was beat up. I remember those pictures, Mike. Your face was, I think that was the last show you did, right? Was that like 4 or 5 years ago? Yeah. Mike came out of retirement, did another show not that long ago, and he won. Yeah. But I mean, that's old school. That's, Mike's 50 now. I'm 54. That's how people did it in those days. That's how, when we were starting out competing, I started competing in 89. I think Mike wasn't that far behind me a couple of years later. I think 93 was his first show. That's what we did back then. It was very low carbs, a lot of cardio. You suffered because that's just what everybody did. It wasn't, nobody was looking for cheat meals. I never even heard the term cheat meal until maybe early 2000s, late 90s. I don't think I heard the term cheat meal, at least until like the year 2000. It just wasn't something we would do. It's like, why would you cheat? If you're trying to get lean, you're dieting, you're strictly dieting. Why would you be cheating on the diet? It doesn't make sense. And cardio, we saw the guys like Levroni and Ronnie and all these other guys doing hours and hours of cardio, and that's what you do. That's how you get lean. So that's what we did. We suffered and it worked. We got in shape. It's at the end of the day, all that really matters, we're talking about competitors here, obviously, which a lot of you guys could care less about, but at the end of the day, all that matters is how lean are you? And if you can get that way eating some crap food here and there, then you're an anomaly. If you can get lean without doing cardio, you're a very rare specimen. That's how Dexter Jackson was in the first phase of his bodybuilding career. He didn't do any cardio for years until later on. Didn't train abs for years either. Didn't do one set for abs. Had great abs. But yeah, if you can do it that way, God bless you. But most people are going to have to suffer. They're going to have to eat less food than they would like. They're going to have to curtail or remove certain foods from their diet that they do enjoy that aren't conducive to fat burning. A lot of the sugars, a lot of saturated fat, fried foods. Taken out. I mean, you're just going to have to grit your teeth and get it done. Let's see. Kevin is responding to James. Well, in terms of trash, no ingredients on the labels. Well, that would be a big red flag. If I picked up a jar or a glass, or what do you call it, a salad dressing? What do you call that? A jar, a container, a bottle of salad dressing, and there was any food that didn't have nutrition facts on the side, which I think that's illegal. I thought you have to. I thought the FDA mandated you had to have the nutrition facts for everything on the label. So that's fishy for one thing. But yeah, I would agree with Kevin there. If it doesn't even have the content, the sugar and the fat content and the calorie content, forget it. I want to train till my very last days. What training advice would you recommend? Okay, Noah. So legs, you want to leave alone for a good 7-8 days before the show. Most people will do, if they're competing on a Saturday, their final leg workout will be the previous Saturday, a week before. Reason for that is when you train legs, I can hear the dog Branch trying to get in. Can't get in, sucker. You have all these waste products, lactic acid, different things, fluid retention in your legs. It takes a few days for them to dissipate. A lot of guys will notice, especially when you're lean, it's a lot easier to see the difference. When you're lean, try this, guys. If you're like super lean the next time, check out your leg definition the day after you train legs. You can take pictures to make it even more viable comparison. And then wait until it's time to train them again and take a picture flexing the legs right before you do the leg workout, say maybe an hour or two or something. Just say it's on the same day you're going to train. So let's say anywhere from 4 to 6 days have gone by and you haven't trained legs. You'll notice that when that time has gone by, there's been days since your last leg workout, and it's almost ready to train them again. They're much leaner. There's much deeper, clearer separations, striations. And again, you have to be pretty lean to notice this difference, but you'll see it's true. So you can train everything else. I would keep the heavy training. I would do like a full body. I would do legs on a Saturday, take the Sunday off, maybe do a little bit of cardio. The next couple of days, I would just alternate like a push day, a pull day, a push day, a pull day, a few heavy sets. You don't want to go crazy with a bunch of drop sets and supersets. You just want to keep that muscle nice and full. So a few heavy straight sets for each body part, like twice during that week. So maybe Monday and Tuesday, Thursday and Friday. Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. No, that's too many days. You get what I'm saying? Just don't go crazy. Don't overtrain. That's how people burn out. That's how they flatten out and lose muscle. Heavy straight sets for the last week. I would take Friday off if you're competing Saturday. Do not touch a weight on Friday. Give your body one full day to just rest, recover, and let the glycogen fill out and let your muscles fill out nice and big for the show. Jack goes, who wins the MMA fight? Well, I don't know. Has he trained? If he's a trained MMA fighter, then he'll beat me. It's funny how a lot of fighters will say, I know I see this shit all the time, but fighters will say, bodybuilders can't fight. To that, I would say, well, fighters can't play golf. That's two different. If you train to be a fighter, you're going to be a great fighter. If you train to look like a bodybuilder, you're going to look like a bodybuilder, but you're not going to be a fighter. You're going to be good at whatever you train for. So I think that's the insecurity on the part of the fighter guys, that they want to make sure everyone knows they could still kick this guy. This guy's got all these big muscles, but I can still kick his ass. That's great. You know what? That's great. Good for you. But no, I don't know who would win an MMA fight between me and Dave. Why would Dave and I fight anyway? I have no problem with Dave. Yeah. I'm not going on his podcast or his shows because, like I said, we just had that bad blood between MD and RX for all those years. And he inadvertently, he wasn't doing it to hurt me personally, but he made my job harder. It was harder for me because he was constantly trashing MD, constantly trashing my boss, even more so. But, that's the company I worked for. Steve was paying me well for years and years. So I just can't, even though I don't work for Steve anymore and there is no MD right now, I just can't do it. And he's doing just fine without me, and I'm doing fine, just fine without RX. So we're all good. Black Angel de Mexico, hola amigo. How much did you weigh in all those pictures? Let's see. Let's go back. I'll try to. It's pretty similar, but let's share the screen and go to it. I didn't weigh. My weight didn't really fluctuate that much. So this was in 2003. I was about 203 there. I weighed in right at 200. And I shouldn't say this, but they let me into the light heavies, even though I weighed in a little heavy at that particular show. I won't even say the show. I don't want anyone to get in trouble. So it was about probably 202 there. For that show, that was that the Universe? 2013 Universe. If I was 202 for that. Sorry, for the Universe, I was like 205 or 206. A couple weeks later, I was 202 at the Masters. So this was 212. This was a week after I competed and I had filled out. And from the front, I hadn't really lost any definition at all. I was just way fuller. But from the back, you could see the lower back, the glutes and the hams had already, the few pounds had already gone there. For that one, I was only one. I weighed in. This was a show that I won in 2007. It was drug tested. I was only 192 for that show, so I lost some muscle because didn't have the gear helping me out. 205 there. Should have been a little lighter. 190. So this was like a few days before the show. I was probably maybe a little heavier, so maybe like 194 there. But for the show, I weighed in at 192. The Natty show. So here I was like 205, 206, 205, 206. I mean, that's where I competed for the most part, was right around between 200 and 210, which is, I know, a range, but hadn't competed under. I got to light heavy one last time for the 2009 Team Universe. So I was 198 for that. But every other show in recent years. Oh, look how young I was. Jeez. Oh, man. Yeah. About 205 there. I'd say 205 was like my most common stage weight, which was very small for heavyweight. I was 5'8". I was typically the same height as the other heavies, but they had anywhere from 10 to 20 pounds on me. A lot of the heavyweights that were competing, because I competed most of the NPC shows I did, I was a heavyweight, which is anything between 198 and a quarter and 225 and a quarter. And I was typically a small heavyweight. I was a barely heavyweight. If there was a class called barely heavyweight, that would have been perfect for me. My trophies. Oh boy. Yeah, buddy. 205 there. 205, 206 there. Yeah, so that was my weight most of the time. There's me and Matt. You can see how much bigger Matt is than me. He's like 6 inches taller too. I know I'm a little runt. Oh, woe is me. All right, that's enough of that. Stop screen. Okay. Buy a new mouse. Is when too noisy. Click, 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 click. What, do they have a silent mouse? What's the biggest bulking cycle you ever did? What's the biggest cutting cycle you ever did? So bulking, I never did more than bulking. I don't think anybody needs a ton of gear to bulk unless you're trying to be like 300 pounds, which I really wasn't. I'd say I was doing a gram, which is 1,000 milligrams of test a week. And I was probably doing 800 of either equipoise or deca. And toward the beginning of the cycle, I was probably doing 50 milligrams of D-ball a day. So what does that work out to? About 2 grams. My biggest cutting cycles were, I know I did one that was like 3 grams. That was a lot of shit. It was like Test Pro, Tren, Masteron. I think it was on Anavar pills. It was about 3 grams. Yeah. But, more is better. I don't know. When I did more than that, that's the most I ever did. It was about 3 grams cycles. I probably did that 2, 3, or 4 times my entire career, and that was a lot for me. Physically, I didn't feel good. I felt like toxic, like there was just too much shit in my system. But I felt like I had to do that to try to achieve the look that I wanted. Do I want to help getting back in shape or start back up again? I'm eating clean, training at my base to see how things look and maybe compete. Well, I'm not working right now, so I would have to charge you, Mark. I know we're buddies, but if you want to hit me up on Instagram at Ron Harris Muscle, I'll be glad to talk to you. Or if you still have my phone number, I don't know if you do. But yeah, I'd be open to that. But like I said, anybody that's looking for help, coaching, whatever, yeah, I do have to charge. I don't have a big income coming in right now. There's no MD. So that's one way I supplement my income. So yeah, I hate saying that to someone who I already know and, we have like an established relationship with, but yeah, that's what I got to do. When you're on DECA, do I feel a negative change in libido? Do you use HCG? I do not. I had it once many years ago for PCT, and I effed up so bad. I took like the whole bottle, I think, at once because I didn't know how to measure it properly. I was an idiot. But no, I don't feel a negative change in my libido. A big key to that, as Dr. T said many times, is that you try to use twice as much test as DECA to counteract that effect that it has on the, is it progesterone or something? Yeah, you can see I'm not a gear expert, guys. You can see I'm not a gear expert. But to avoid that, you do want to take more test than DECA, usually a 2-to-1 ratio. People that are on DECA only, I don't even know how they can sexually function. It does lead to the dreaded DECA dick, but no, I never had that problem. Hey, my libido's always been a little higher than my wife's anyway, sometimes a lot higher. So a little less libido on my part would probably be a good thing in terms of my marriage. Philip, again, I mentioned SRT show won't start again. We'll make a video, let us know. I'll let everybody know. So what's going on right now is Jen from MD, we're working together on this channel. Last week, I finally got it monetized again. It took me a while to get enough remonetized, I should say, because years ago it was. So it got monetized again. So now I can make money off the views, but that's like nothing. Like so far, I've made $1.88 in ad money. It's not much. But with a sponsor, if I can get a sponsor and put their branding on it, then it's going to be worthwhile to bring the show back because, it's just going to be a more viable channel. So I will let everybody know, but as soon as I can get that show back, I want to get it back. I know George would love to have it. He loved doing the show and he loved being able to help people and give answers to the questions as a medical professional that you couldn't really get from another doctor because they don't know. But he's a doctor. He's an actual medical doctor and a bodybuilder, lives the life, walks the walk, talks the talk. I want to get his show going back again as soon as possible. Best thing to help with the DECA problem is use double tests. So yeah, so that's what we just said. So he was always saying, yeah, Mark he posted that before I didn't see that post until just now, but yeah, typically DECA. So if you're doing 600 tests, you'd want to do 300 DECA. If you're doing 800, like he says, 800 tests, 400 DECA. If you have twice the amount of tests, it counteracts the issues that you could have with DECA. So that's something. So you don't want to be doing a gram of test and a gram of DECA. Then you're going to have DECA dick. Some of the best pecs ever. I mean, the two outstanding body parts I had were pecs and quads. Arms were never great, obviously. Triceps were awful. Biceps are okay. Nothing great. Shoulders are pretty good back in the day, but I always got compliments on my chest and quads. Even now, I can't press for shit. They're still pretty big. I mean, I'm using like machines. I'm not even going as heavy as I used to because I can't. There's just no stability in my shoulders. So genetically, I think those are two things because my son has the pecs and my son's naturally, he's 24 years old. He's 160 pounds, but he's got the pecs, he's got the quads. So genetics. What's the best protocol for crazy libido and energy? Is it test only, test master? I mean, crazy libido, test should do it. Test and energy. Proviron it increases your free test, because your total test can be high, but if your free testosterone isn't in the proper levels, high normal levels, you're still not going to have the same effects from the test that you should. Proviron is used to unbind that test, so you have higher free test levels, which is going to give you a higher sex drive. So, yeah, a lot of people talk about tren. Tren gives you a raging sex drive, but they also will tell you that after a certain point, after a certain amount of time on Tren, starts having the opposite effect. It has that same effect as a DECA because it is a DHT derivative. So after a long, a couple months on Tren, now you might have sexual dysfunction. You might erectile dysfunction, which we don't want that. We want our erections to be powerful and strong. We don't want them being weak and wimpy. No. When is Sergio Oliva Jr. competing? I don't know. Haven't heard any talk about that. You can build muscle after it's all about changing the angle of stress. You have 40 years doing similar things, time and force change. Well, Scott, I have changed things up quite a bit. The amount of muscle you can build there's going to be a limit to it. That's why nobody's 1,000 pounds ripped. So if you've pretty much maxed out your genetic potential, and then you add gear, that's natural. Then you go on gear and you train for a bunch more years. You maxed out. You're not going to get bigger than that. I mean, even guys like Rami, someone who's a monster, huge, he's not getting any bigger than that. He's been the same size for years and years. You're going to hit a limit. Obviously, that's a very high limit that most of us could never get anywhere near. But I don't know anybody that's like, say they built up to, I'm going to use a crazy example. Let's say someone's 5'9", and they walk around most of the year at about 250. That's a big dude. He's been training for 30 years. And he's been on gear for 20 years. And he's been eating all the right food and resting and everything. I don't think even changing the exercises, the routine, the approach to training, I don't think he's going to get much bigger than that no matter what he does. I mean, everybody, it's all relative to where you started from. If you built this much muscle from where you started, you're not going to get up here. It's just, you might get incrementally tiny bit. You might be able to bring up a body part here and there, but you're not going to get much bigger. I mean, the guys that I talk to, I don't know anyone that's been training hard for as long as I have and has been on gear as long as I have, and they're still gaining muscle. I don't know anyone. I mean, most of them have either quit and they've lost a bunch of size, or they're fighting very hard just to maintain. If someone is still building muscle after 50, they probably haven't been training as long, or maybe they weren't that big, or they didn't eat. If they changed something that they were doing wrong, say they were never eating enough, or maybe they were natural and now they're on gear. Yeah, things like that will spur new growth, but just changing up the exercises and all that, you got to assume you've been doing that anyway. I mean, who stays on the same routine all that time? I don't know. Guys, I have to start cooking. I got to make my ground turkey. Boo about MD. Yeah. They had a great run. I had a great run with them. Nothing lasts forever. I didn't expect it to last forever. I didn't expect it to end ever, but in my heart of hearts, I knew someday it was going to end. Anyway, guys, wow, I've been talking for over an hour. So that's it. That is our discussion for today. I thank all of you who joined and engaged in this live chat. If you caught this later, leave a comment in the comments. I will answer every one of them. I do love the feedback and engaging with you guys, both live and in the comments when we're done being live. If you like this, again, hit the like, subscribe. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please, helps me out. Doesn't cost you anything. Put on your notifications, turn them on your iPhone or Android or whatever you have, as well as your YouTube settings, and you'll know when we're going live. Also, if you're on my Instagram at Ron Harris Muscle, you'll get notifications because I post. I let people know hours ahead of time when I'm doing these live things. Thanks to Mike Cox joining me. Big Mike Cox over there in Tampa, Florida area, where it's not as cold as here. We're going to get to 11 degrees tomorrow morning, I believe. Woof. So stay warm, everybody, where it's nice and chilly. And have an awesome weekend. Appreciate you guys all joining me today. And I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.